over the border of North Dorset into Wiltshire, and this is the sunflower field that I came across. I think it was about a week or so ago, and it was just stunning when I first saw it. It's so hidden that you have to go on quite a walk to find it. It's not just by the side of the road. We just walked through the centre of it just to look at all the different perspectives, and it's just beautiful. We're in September now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably sit down, because I've got quite a big pad here, and I'm going to be using the Langton press watercolour paper. It's 140 pounds in weight, and it's, let's just show you, it's a little bit windy today, but downwind, can't do much about that, and it's got a rough texture to it. I do particularly like using rough texture watercolour paper. It just gives a nice edge to your painting. So I'm going to demonstrate wet and wet, which is lots of water and lots of washes of colour. And then, after I've done that, I'm going to do a dragging technique for the sunflowers, all the stems and the foliage, and I'm going to do a dropping technique for the sunflower heads. And this time, they haven't got my back to me. I can actually see the front of them. So I'm going to be painting, the fronts of them. So it's just stunning. To me, just dropping the water on and stroking the paper is a very relaxing way of painting, particularly when you're sitting by a sunflower field in September, and it's just very lucky to be living in such a beautiful area of England. I'm using a flat squirrel head brush. Let's get that right. Absolutely wonderful for doing big flat washes of colour. So I'm dropping some water into the yellow. So we've got Gamboge, Winsor and Newton, Copeman range. Okay, so I'm skimming all the way down, and then I'll just sort of come across like that. Very, not perfect. So you're leaving areas of light. Let's just bring that down there. Just come across. And I'm working in portrait this time. I'm just letting it slightly cascade down the paper. So that's my first wash. More water. What I got is a turquoise colour, which I love using. It's a little bit like Othello blue. Then when I add my crimson lake into it, it makes a rather interesting blue, and that's what I want. Might not be exactly what it is up in the sky at the moment, but I like that colour. I don't want cobalt blue, just for a change. I know it is like cobalt blue, but I want it like this. But what I'm doing is just sort of patting the colour on, and because the sky is full of so many patterns at the moment. And what I'm going to do is just sweep out with a dry brush. Dry brush technique is really effective on wet paper. And we've obviously got a little bit of clouds coming across as well, so it's quite dramatic sky. So if I had a little bit more Crimson Lake into my blue, and there's a tiny bit of yellow gone into it, I've got this lovely, there we go, a little bit more of that. I can create a bit of cloud coming into it, just slightly, there you go, a little build up of it, only a bit, I just want a little bit coming in. I'm going to slightly let it feather down because the clouds are, you look at the clouds, they do have this crinkling effect, this feathery effect underneath. The more you study clouds, there's so many different shapes. There's one there, little one there. So basically all we're going to see is the tops of the sunflowers. We're not going to see the bottoms. When you get a hair like that, don't worry about it. What I'm going to do is show you, let's just clean that brush. And I'm going to show you a lifting technique. There, look, see how it lifts? You can create a little bit of light in that cloud. A little bit just above there as well. A bit coming up there. There, just sweep that across. There. It just creates excitement on the paper. Just want a tiny bit more blue again. A bit more blue coming in here. There. A bit more blue coming across there. Again, this is my favourite filbert brush. It has a long stem to it, and when you buy them, they're creamy white, and you can use them for acrylic and oil as well. Wonderful brushes. That's definitely, you must have a brush like this when you're using watercolour. Just to soften that out a bit. Okay, so we're nearly there with the sky. Quite happy with that. So now what I'm going to do is, I work down from the sky obviously into the backdrop. And the backdrop is just, to me, it's just a little bit of the hedging, the hedgerow just behind there. So I'm going to still use my big brush for this. What I've done, I've got the gamboge, I'm just mixing in. I always mix into the same colours because it's a 3-colour technique. And the greens now in the hedgerows are going very olivey, earthy greens. They're not fresh greens anymore. Eventually then they'll go brown. So here we go, so we can have a little bit of hedging. Just coming in there, just a little bit there. To do a darker, sort of earthier brown, and then run my brush along the bottom of it. Sort of keep mixing as well, some colours into it. This is a great technique for doing hedgerows. You do dunes. You know, it's overlaying of different colours by mixing in the 3 different colours together. get a little bit of green on there. Get rid of that. That was. And I'm going to show you along the top of the hedgerow, there's a little bit of dried kind of spiky blackthorn coming up, or it could be bramble rose at the top. Just going to try and get the colour. Slightly wet the brush. There. And this is a Chinese wolf hair brush. Yeah, it's made of wolf hair, but it's amazing. I've used it for so many things. What I'm going to do, it's still a bit wet. I have to wait for this bit. I have to get a bit darker as well, maybe. You have to keep mixing until you get the right colour. Keep persevering. Three colours together. It's almost, yeah, it's very dark, that hedge line now. Here we go. So I'm just going to wiggle the brush. There's just a little bit of detail coming up from it. Just makes it quite interesting. So this is, you sort of, obviously you're creating like a pattern, but a bit of texture slightly coming up from it, from the hedgerow. All the way along, really. So what you have is then the soft ethereal effect behind, and then this dried effect, texture effect. A plane, little plane flying over, having a look. That little plane's probably come from Compton Abbas airfield, which is in North Dorset, but we're not far from there, you see. So we always get the little planes flying over. I'm just putting a little bit of grass behind there. There, just a little bit coming over like that. It's perfect weather today. The wind has now dropped totally. Oh, which is a real treat when it does that. You just want it to stay like that. And I will get round to doing the sunflowers at some point. I'm just focusing on this right now. There's no rush. So I always work down the paper from the sky to then a hedgerow or a hill, and then the main detail, leave that till last. This is walker's paradise, this is. A lot of people love walking this area. Perfect for Sunday afternoon, walking through a sunflower field. You can't beat it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is work down to a little bit. I want some of this, this sort of, I think it's the ploughed field behind just slightly. This could be sand, couldn't it? We could be at the sea. We could be dunes. It's what you make of it. It's what you see. It's creating interest in your work. Okay, and then obviously, then in front of this, I'm going to have the sunflowers coming up, just up in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on the sunflowers. So we had a very hot summer. So you just make sure you've got to place all your centres first. It doesn't have to be exactly what you see in front of you. Just dot how many you want to put on. Oh, even the owls are coming out, even though it's not night time yet. We've just heard some owls. Could be barn owls in the background. Makes such a beautiful sound. So there's been quite a few. Excuse me, my nose is playing up because it's been quite high pollen today. And I do have an allergy anyway, all year round. Something I have to cope with. So it's very important to do everything in stages. You can't do it all at once. I'm dying to do the petals. I love doing the petal bit. So that's when you can be really expressive. Little one there. The easiest way to do the centres, actually I'm finding, is just to twirl your brush. Press and twirl. There, I think that's enough for now. Obviously I'm going to do the petals now. So you want to do a lighter yellow for the petals. And there's going to be a lot of them. So they're all very close together. Little petals. So the best way for me is to draw them. There. That's the best way, really. Try and do it as sketchy as possible. Obviously we're outside, so we're not looking at perfection, we're just looking at an expressive feeling of sunflowers. And you start building on them a bit. And then what I will do is then fill in around them to bring them out with the earthy greens. So this bit will take time because we're outside. Try not to do it too perfect. That's easier said than done, because now what I really want to do as well is sort of put a little bit of detail just slightly around them. Now I'll show you that in a minute. That's the temptation, is to do other things, because I tend to do that because I get bored of just doing one thing, which is just the petals. Well, my brush has got filthy. Right, let's clean that up. Okay. I mean, you could press them on like that. You could do that for some of them. Actually, some of them do go like that. I have to say this is the first time I've ever painted a sunflower field outside. I've painted, after seeing a sunflower field back in the studio, so it's more set. But to actually be here outside with the sun glowing and it's so warm, it's just amazing. So I'm like a beginner when it comes to sunflowers. I'm like a child, trying to understand the shapes of them and the patterns of them. So it's not easy. I know poppies and I know lots of different wildflowers and I know how to do seed heads and grasses. But even for me, I have to say, this is a real challenge to do it, particularly in watercolour as well. And I haven't drawn it out, it's just all experimental. Yep. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fill in around them, around the sunflowers, because it's absolutely perfect now. The sun is really gorgeous. I'm trying to get the right colour here. So let's go for that colour, I think. A bit of that. And what I'm going to do is a dragging technique in between. Can you see that? And I'm going to drag up through. That's what I'm going to do. And where there's little bits of white, I'm just going to sort of scrub in between. Again, my brush is spiked out. God, I don't do sunflowers. This is the first time I've ever come to a sunflower field and painted a sunflower field outside. And I'm in my 40s now, and I feel that's quite sad. But in a way, it's uplifting as well. It's wonderful that I'm doing it now. You know, it's never too late to paint whatever you want. Sometimes in life it takes longer than you think. But it's been challenging. I'm trying to understand the shape of the flower heads, the grasses and the hedgerow and the sky and all that. I know how to do that. I can understand that. The sunflower heads are really challenging getting their shapes, particularly in watercolour. So I'm going to go back to the studio and keep practicing. And it's just wonderful to just practice your skies outside. That's very important, whatever time of the year. And I've been lucky today because it's been sunny and the wind's now picking up. It's time to go home. So bye for now from this stunning location in the Swallow Cliff Valley. Goodbye to the sunflowers of September 2018. I shall be back again next year. Let's hope they're going to be here next year.